After their defeat in World War I, the fiercely proud German people are utterly humiliated. The punishing terms of the Treaty of Versailles rub salt in the wounds. The global industrial power is limited to an army of only 100,000 men and loses territory. The Germans feel very put upon by the Treaty of Versailles because it essentially says that the Germans are guilty of starting the war. There's no question that most Germans felt outraged by the provisions of the Treaty of Versailles. The shrinking of the army to just 100,000 and the loss of territory and these massive reparations, which everybody knew were gone now, have serious economic consequences. And the reason they objected was because it implied that Germany was responsible for the First World War. And this was their punishment. How could their powerful nation have lost? And why are they made to cede land to lesser nations? The territorial losses are quite significant. They lose territory in the east to the Poles and to the Czechs, and they were forced to demilitarize the Rhineland, so they can't use it as a launchpad for a renewed invasion of Belgium and France. Feeding on the resentment, a populist rabble-rouser taps into wounded German pride and promises to take back what has been lost. Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party start to build a mass following. The German people see him as a savior, the man to restore their once great nation. There was a feeling in Germany that most Germans felt when the Versailles Treaty was passed, that the provisions were unnecessarily draconian. Both the loss of territory and also these massive war reparations. And what the Versailles Treaty did in effect is blame Germany for the First World War. Whereas many Germans felt that actually they were no more responsible than any of the other countries. And so this rankled. Hitler correctly diagnoses that the Germans are suffering a great deal of political and economic insecurity. What they need most of all is a sense of unity and a sense of economic security, kind of a floor underneath them. And the Nazis provide this by talking about, state intervention in all sorts of areas to create employment, building the autobombs, things like that. Hitler's reign is a success story in the early years in the eyes of most Germans. Bit by bit, Hitler does away with the various terms of the Versailles Treaty. In violation of the treaty, Hitler builds up his army, testing the tolerance of the Allies. Gambling that no one wants to start another war, he introduces compulsory military service in 1935 and marches back into the Rhineland the following year with 30,000 troops. If you think about Hitler's long-term plan, it is to consolidate his position on the European continent, defeat the Western powers, France and Britain, and then he's going to turn his attention to the East, which he sees as the natural field for German expansion, a place where he can then build out the German population, gather in resources and defeat the monster of Bolshevism, which he sees as being kind of the blood enemy of fascism. When the Nazis brazenly march into Austria on the 12th of March 1938, they are greeted with open arms by the Austrian people. The Western Allies do nothing. These are always flagrant breaches of the Versailles Treaty, but the Allies don't react. Many of them think, well, maybe we have humiliated Germany too much with the Versailles Treaty, and the fact that they want to become a great power again. We can understand that in a way. And on the other hand, the Allies don't want to risk another war. With Austria now in German hands, Hitler makes public his goal to incorporate areas of Czechoslovakia into the growing German footprint. It's a country rich in natural resources like iron. The statements alarm the Allies, but still they want to avoid conflict. In September 1938, the British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain flies to Germany 3 times to attempt to dissuade Hitler from invading Czechoslovakia. I used to repeat, if at first you don't succeed, try again. That's what I'm doing. On his 3rd visit, he joins French Prime Minister Édouard Daladier and Benito Mussolini of Italy at what becomes known as the Munich Conference. They agree with Hitler that Germany can annex the German-speaking Sudetenland, but not make an attempt to invade the rest of Czechoslovakia. The following morning, Chamberlain signs a separate agreement with Hitler, a peace deal between Britain and Germany. Chamberlain is greeted as a hero. Chamberlain returns to Heston Airport in London and waves his piece of paper and talks about peace in our time. And this is a separate deal that he has done privately with Hitler. He's averted war. There is absolutely no question that Hitler is absolutely chomping at the bit to go in, with all guns blazing into Czechoslovakia, and that has been avoided. We regard the agreement signed last night and the Anglo-German naval agreement as symbolic of the desire of our two peoples never to go to war with one another again. As Chamberlain delivers his speech, German forces prepare to march into the Sudetenland. March 1939. Hitler invades the rest of Czechoslovakia. It is clear that Hitler's plan isn't just to regain territory, but to expand Germany's borders further east. Hitler's intention ultimately is to create a huge German empire in Central and Eastern Europe. Are they prepared to go to war? So he's just got to keep pushing slowly, but surely, and one after another. These crucial countries, Austria, Czechoslovakia, slowly the dominoes will fall. And he is going to be able to carve out for himself this huge new empire, this living room for the German people.